This is a Hive magazine interview. I'm Alfie Clark, and today I'm joined by indie rock three piece from the Northeast. They've just announced their self-titled album, which is out on June 14th. It's Shay, Adam, and Guy from Bearpark. How are we doing, lads?
Hello, mate. We're all right. We're feeling good.
Yep.
Good, good.
Very excited.
So let's get this kicked off. The album's been finally announced, obviously. How are you feeling in the lead up to the 14th, now that it's all out there?
It's scary, but it's very exciting. It's like a whole lot of like, ooh. I think the way you approach an album is you wanna build up to it the best you can, but you want to save all the good stuff for when it's actually out, so when you can actually see it to people. Here it is, listen to it. So the run-up's about saying, yeah, it's this, but not wasting too much of your content and too much of your energy because you don't really have anything to present to people. So when it comes out, smash it. So yeah.
And obviously, like being a self-titled album, historically, self-titled albums are meant to be a representation and a real like here is what we are of a
Yeah.
band kind of thing. Great example of that just from this year. Neck Deep. I'm not too sure if you know who they are. They had a self-titled
Yeah.
album release, and it was fantastic and a real representation of what they are as a band. Would you say that your album has achieved a similar accolade?
I mean, ours is like it's a lot of years worth of songs. Like there's a song on the album that we did in 2019, was it? Live, we played it live.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then so that's like nearly 5 years worth of material. So I think it is like a perfect representation of everything we've done so far up until now. So yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I was gonna bring this up later on in the interview, but now you say it, like, you mentioned, I think on your Instagram a few weeks ago, that Keep On Smiling was, that was conceived like 2 years ago now. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is that I'm imagining there's a lot more tracks that have been picked up off the cutting room floor and honed and refined, and I can imagine there's still a lot more that are still untapped and waiting to be released.
Yeah, that's it, mate. It's like I think because the thing with an album is you've got to kind of make one to look back and think, huh, I've done that. Now I can improve from that. So there was sort of a time where we're making it where we're like, ooh, we'll put this song and we'll put that song in because at the time we didn't have like a huge back catalogue. So a lot of it we didn't get the chance to like pick and choose from. A lot of it was like, right, we've got that song, so we'll do that. And I feel like that's exactly what makes it quite a raw kind of good representation of like places where we've been. As Guy says, it's like the past few years leading up. So it can start with, of course, all the songs are good, but it can start with ones that are technically more simple and ones that are technically more complex.
Mhm.
So that kind of thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned complex. I mean, on my first few listens, the one track that stood out to me as that most like complex and developed track would be, for me personally, The Other Way. Like I
Yeah,
see that as like the
yeah,
storytelling,
Agree.
the acoustics, and those subdued screams at the back end of the track. Like it honestly left us
Yeah.
a bit stunned. I really
yeah,
wasn't expecting something like that from you. So I mean, can you just give us a bit more insight on how that sort of came to be and the whole creative process behind that one track?
yeah. I mean, I remember when I wrote that one, I sent it to the chat, and Lee, my manager, he was like, "It's not your best one." And by all means, people might not think that's the best one, but we were like, "Nah, come on, that's good." So when we came to do it, when we were in the studio with it, there was
Wasn't
just
it?
so much.
It was the longest day we spent in the studio
Yeah,
for that
I
one.
think we were in the studio till about
2 or 3.
2 in the morning or something
Oh
like
wow.
that, from like 10 o'clock in the
'Cause we
morning.
were doing one song a day.
Yeah.
We had quite a tight schedule, but the guy who's engineering would just let us run over as much as we
And
wanted.
we put like you say, it's got all them acoustic things and all these. It's got so many sounds in.
The scream was actually the last thing as we were packing up.
Yeah,
He was just like,
the scream was
can I
like, all right,
scream?
we'll scream, we'll do a scream. So you have like all these muted pianos behind it and all these little acoustic lines, chorus acoustic lines. Yeah, so I'm glad you picked up on that one as like the most technically like refined and complex because it is.
It is, yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
like first listen, that really hit us hard. That was really good, man. And I mean, another
Uh,
one I think like you are probably, it's kind of hung with you for years now, being track free theme parks, which for the dedicated and tuned ear, it's just a reimagining of Carbon Theme Park from 4 years ago
Yeah.
now. So I mean, like,
That was
why
exactly,
why was it? I mean, obviously it is still your most streamed song on Spotify, but why was it this song that you decided to pick up again? This a nearly 4-year-old song, or more than 4-year-olds now, and giving it a completely new lease of life?
I mean, it's a song that obviously means a lot to us. It got us to where we are now. Like it got us the label interest, things like that.
Yeah.
And we felt a little bit like having a song that owes so much to us, or we owe so much to, being so outdated. We felt like we just kind of need to brush it up a bit and make
Yeah.
it something we listen to and don't think, oh, it's crap, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. 'Cause I hate it when you hear artists say like, oh, I hate my songs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if we have songs that we like on our discography, it'll be, I don't know. There's other reasons why we've recorded it again.
Yeah, I mean,
the label wanted us to in the first.
The
place,
label
but
said they wanted to re-record it, and initially I think we were a bit like, can we just leave that behind? But they were adamant on it, so I went away and redid the lyrics because all the lyrics are different mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So I went away and I was like, okay, let us do that. And then when me and Guy demoed it, so I don't know if you noticed, but this version's like higher in the key, so it
Yeah.
sounds like pitched up. So we made it feel a little bit more jolly, and it feels much more jolly now.
it's got a place in the album. It
Yeah,
sounds good.
and I remember when we were in the studio, that was the one Gary, our producer, he reacted to that the best. We just finished, he was like, that was amazing. So and then Eric, who also works for the label, he was like, I told you that was your best song. So they obviously believe in it. So now
Yeah.
we believe in it because it does sound really good.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's
yeah.
nice giving it a makeover after so long as
Yeah,
well.
totally.
We're better musicians, we're older.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
Mhm.
thing.
And I mean, you mentioned Gary. I can only imagine you're talking about Gary Powell,
Yeah.
the man from the Libertines, that guy. I can imagine, his experience in the decades he's had in the game has been invaluable to the creation of the album. So, like, how has that experience and the support of the label helped?
Unbelievable.
It was
Yeah.
good, like as a drummer and that, to work with him, because obviously he's a drummer of the Libs and that. So it was like, it was cool meeting someone of that caliber, and just learning new stuff from him.
It's not just like the drums that he does though. It's like he's got so much musical knowledge.
Yeah, he's very good with his backing vocals. Yeah, he's very, very good with that. We're really like working on that sort of stuff with him. And honestly, all these little random ideas that you could never have thought of, you just be like, all right, let's do that. And it works. So it's
Like
great.
if he tells you to play something on the drums, and it just kind of like there was a bit in Head of the United States, like there's a reggae bit in the middle. That was just on the spot. He just told Adam to play a reggae beat and was like, right now, play on the hands, whatever. It was just fell into place. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's very telling that, like, yous are signed to a label now. With almost being a younger band, it can sort of be a bit like, what's the word for it? Almost like a little bit, too forward. I want to say, being such a young band, being signed to a label this early, but you're very fortunate in the sense that you are in a place that a lot of our bands in the same space as you and in the same vein don't have those advantages. But that still all has to come with hard work. You can't just step in and let other people do the work for you. So I mean, I can imagine it's been a very, like, whilst rewarding, but a very taxing time for you.
It's been years in the making. I mean, we didn't release anything for 2 years, but we had stuff to release, and it was excruciating, to be fair. But I think it has been worth it because we've recorded an album. We've recorded not many bands in the Northeast get to record albums. It's always when you can scrape enough money together to record a single. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
So we're definitely really, really lucky, but that's not to say we haven't put in the hard work, because it's been
well, we've been there
hard
with singles and having to save money for singles,
and then
in
they're
the
not coming out and things like
Yeah,
that. Like
so-
we actually spent like nearly £2,000 on an EP, and we never released it because the label came along and said, we want to record songs with you. So we just had to wait for 2 years. So we've definitely been.
I was gonna say, like, it's it's almost telling as well, like, with the production and everything has leveled up gigantically on your side. Is that a big factor for you as well? You know, making sure the album sounds as good as it can, because I think in the modern streaming age, you know, the last thing you want to do is make something samey or boring that is really going to just disinterest people, especially in the indie space where, you know, a lot of stuff can come off as almost a copycat or a carbon copy of something. And, you know, people are saying, oh, you're a clone of this band, you're a clone of that band. How important is it that you sort of differentiate yourselves and make the best music that you can?
I think it's massively important. And I think with us, I don't think there's one particular, like you're saying about carbon copies and people being compared to bands. I don't think there is necessarily a band that people can relate to us, and like one band at least. Like for example, we're being told, oh, yous are a bit like the Jam, but people probably are lulled into thinking, oh, you like the Jam because we wear like the mod looking suits. Whereas I think the sound isn't very Jam like. And
bits and pieces of everything.
Yeah, 100%. And it's very much just an amalgamation instead of like, all right, we might focus on that band. But as you say, it's, you know, it's massively important to stand out.
I think another thing is like actually the way we record the music, like you're talking about production. We try and keep as much of a live feel to it as we can. So the first couple of hours of a studio session is us playing together live in a room until we get the take, and then we'll add things on. But I feel like a lot of the time now it's one instrument at a time.
Yeah.
And that you kind of lose the feel almost.
Yeah, that's that, because like guys saying, like that's how we do it with the drums. Because I feel like if you were doing the drums by themselves in the studio, you're almost not like, you're not feeling it. Like you've got nothing around you, so you're just like drumming away like that. But when me and Guy are playing with Adam for his takes, he's bouncing off our playing to create that feel.
You're capturing the energy of the room, aren't you?
Yeah, like he says, capture the energy of the room. And you know, it's about being honest and raw, and as Guy says, a live feel. Obviously, with modern technology, it's very easy to go down the path of being overproduced, very like, you know, using all this stuff to your advantage. When in reality, it's quite nice to go back to like just nice, simple playing together. So yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I want to bring this up because I mean it is a bit of a conscientious topic in the music space, especially through in a social media age where promotion is such a big thing. And you know, me personally, you know, I see on like Twitter and TikTok these, you know, wannabe indie artists just spouting some just really just poor and like just absolute just bottom of the barrel lyrics over these just boring guitars, and it kind of makes me puts my mind in a bad place for the indie scene, thinking like, is this really what we're gonna have to endure throughout the time? So like, where do you stand on this? You know, this over promoted and sort of just shilling to the younger indie crowd that are gonna eat this up anyways. And you know, yous aren't doing that. So there's obviously a reason for that. You know, why you taking a different approach to this promotion, you know, making of the album.
I mean, it's been done, as you say, so many times.
Yeah, I think people have, and it's true. People try to guess what other people are thinking and what other people want. Like for example, you'll know what I mean. If you're talking about a band, people try to copy. You're thinking of the Arctic Monkeys,
of course,
like
up here,
Sam Fender. So people try to copy that, and I think people would think in their own heads, "Oh, if I make something that sounds like that or is styled off him, or that band or her or whoever, you know, people are going to think that's going to be what people want." But people just end up saying to you, "That just sounds like that." So you know, it's about hitting the right spot of thinking people are going to recognize that they're either going to like it and be like, you sound like that, or no, you're just copying.
And in a way that it promotes itself. If you're doing something no one's heard before, it's harder to promote yourself when you've got to prove that you're not like the Arctic Monkeys. When you've got to be like, oh, please listen to us. I promise we're not like this band.
Yeah.
But if people don't even need to think about that, it's its own thing. You don't really need to put as much effort in.
Yeah.
So that's good when we're at such an early stage, just sticking out a bit, and that's always been the case. Like Lee, our manager, only really picked us up because he thought Shay's voice was different. So, you know, it's what happens.
Yeah.
And I mean, me and you, Shay, we talked a couple of years back for an interview that I did for university, and
Yeah.
you mentioned a couple of bands that you'd been influenced by.
Yeah.
You know, I'd coming back to us like Hockey Dad and Wallows,
Yeah.
a couple of bands
Yeah.
like that. I remember you mentioned like Pink Floyd and Queen. Have those influences changed and varied as the years went on? Your music tastes have sort of developed and changed, or has the core sort of influences sort of stuck around and kept within the creative process?
I would say they've definitely stuck around. Obviously, I'd say stuff does leave, but the core stuff never really does. Like, for example, we did another interview the other day, where, you know, people, you know, they'll tend to ask, what's your influences? And Wallows and Hockey Dad, for example, it will always say them because that's a core thing. So
that's not to say it hasn't grown though. Like Adam's not all about Queen and classic. You've got like the hip hop stuff
grown over the years and stuff. It's all changed.
But that kind of gives it like a different feel on the drums. Like, you wouldn't imagine like an indie song with a hip hop beat or something like that. It kind of gives it that.
It gives you more options for songs as well.
I mean, I think we've all got links between our tastes, but I think the best thing about it is how differently we all like think about music.
I think, for example, if you were to link Hockey Dad and Wallows, I would say the formats and arrangements of songs and melodies are more like Wallows. But the main thing with Hockey Dad is the guitar tone, that raw, bluesy, surfy guitar tone, which we would then implement into that more pop-friendly Wallows format in a way, if that makes sense. So it's not like, oh, you know, I don't think Wallows like the sounds in their songs inspire us much, but rather just the way they set out to make a catchy song. You think, I see what they've done there, and I'll try and implement them techniques. Not copy or anything, but just think, all right, you can see why they've strategically placed stuff where they've placed stuff. So we think about that. And then Hockey Dad, as I say, is more of a sound thing, like the surfy guitar.
Oh God, we've got like in our heads, it just works out like we've got different bands that inspire different parts.
Yeah,
it's like we've said before, it's like a Frankenstein.
Yeah,
it's just like bits of each of our music taste coming into one, you know.
Yeah, I'm curious about the hip hop sort of thing, because that's something that I didn't personally catch. Like, where's that stem from? Is that stemming from like old school stuff in the 90s, or like sort of like boom bap revival, things like that?
Well, it's like it's a lot of things. It's most of them stuff like the Far Side, Tribe Called Quest, and all them. Like, it's mainly just the drums that I like. I'll just play something and she'll be like, "Oh, that's cool," and then in my head, it's just like something from like those kind of songs, and it's just like it just comes from there.
Yeah, I'd say in this album we don't do it much.
It's not as
much, but
But in the newer songs, we've definitely tried to incorporate that somewhat.
Because I mean, this album was recorded over a year ago now.
So it's been like we've mentioned
influences and
because it's been made so long ago, stuff changes. So
right, then. I mean, going off the album for now, I mean, you've got a big summer coming up as well. Plenty of festivals that I've seen has been booked for, you know, whether that be in the Northeast or other areas of the UK. I'm still hoping I can get myself down to Hardwick and catch your set. You know, where he's most excited to play then, in that case?
Of the stuff we've got, I would say a Lindisfarne.
I think I'd agree.
Yeah, that looks very
the
cool.
Hardwick lineup is crazy. I can't believe we're on that poster. But Lindisfarne's like a festival I've always grown up like wanting to go to, and the first time I'm going, I'm also playing it. So that's pretty crazy. I think we're thinking that's staying over.
Lindisfarne.
Might just camp there for a while after we've played. Should be good. We've also got like the little local, not little, like Coast Fest is like
new.
I think they won like the
best new festival.
Best new festival, and we played it last year. It was class, and just I love supporting like little communities around the Northeast with their festivals and that. So I'm excited for all of them. I don't think there's one that I'm like most buzzing about. Like any festival start you get as a band, it's just golden.
Yeah.
Unless it's Glastonbury. Glastonbury's the exception.
Why?
Because that's just the one.
Oh wait, I thought you meant it wasn't good. Right.
No,
Sorry.
Glastonbury's just the one. Everyone wants to play that.
And I
That's
mean,
just
you've been on the road already loads this year. I mean, you've been touring with so many different like bands and artists. So I mean, I'm just curious, because I've never asked a band this. What is, call it cliche, but what is the worst and the best part about being a band on tour?
we've all got different
We've all got
things.
different things.
Mine is just the diet and the lack of sleep. It just after 2 days it just kills me. Like
Then what's the best thing?
best
The best
thing.
thing's a drink.
It's I'd say the moment when you like being on stage, obviously, but when you come off and you just have that like, I can, because I get really bad stage fright. So when I come off and I can just relax and think that was class, that's the best feeling.
Yeah.
But
That's second to the
what
drink.
would your?
I mean, for me, I think obviously apart from the actual play and the show, I really like. I don't know, something about getting set up is fun. Like getting your stuff on the stage, you're plugged in, and when you know you're all ready to go and put on your show is great. And then after, like these are saying, like when we played with the Libertines in Leeds after the show, me and him went in an ice bath because Pete and Carl from the Libs do an ice bath after every show, and they were like, "Oh lads, you want to do it?" And he went straight in, and I was like,
They asked me during sound check if we wanted to, and I said, "Oh, not right now."
"Yeah, wait."
We went to go and say bye to them, and Pete was like, "Oh, you still up for that ice bath?"
Yeah. So he went and I was a bit more reluctant, but then I did it and it felt so good. But it's like little sort of unexpected things that might happen after, like going upstairs and having a drink with the different bands that I've been on. Stuff like that. Just meeting new people's really good.
Yeah. At first, I expected like the best thing to be seeing new places, but you don't see anything. So if when we played Leeds and when we played Glasgow, we didn't see the cities. We just
Yeah. And
Stay around the
then
venue.
for me, I think the worst thing is probably like it's probably the gap between soundcheck and the show because the times are really strange and you go, do I have time to go and get food? Do I not have time to go and get food? Then you leave the venue, you're 15 minutes away from the venue getting food and you realize I've got to get back and you start running and it's not a nice feeling. So I don't like that much.
What about you? What's your least favorite thing?
I don't know.
Getting up early.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he can't get up
early.
I mean, like as you say, you don't see the cities that much, and I mean that's a given. It's very busy on the day, but I mean, you are seeing a lot of different venues. Is there any venues that you have played at recently that's stuck in your mind as like, oh, this is a mint venue. I want to come back here and play it again.
That Oran Moor in Glasgow. It was like an old repurposed church, and it had like it was the first real food we'd eaten in like 3 days. It was just, I don't know if that made it taste really good or not, if it was just nice, but that was a really cool venue. I mean, it was like underground, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really cool.
It was really like, it was a high ceiling, but it had all these like hanging things. Just felt, it was like the most Libertines-esque venue.
Yeah.
It was class.
I like the wardrobe.
Yeah, that's the one in Leeds.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. Yeah. We've seen quite a few now. Like.
Yeah, and then we played this place in Scunthorpe with Andrew Cushion called Cafe Indie, and it's just like a free cafe. It's almost like a youth club, and you go down some stairs and they've got this massive stage, and it's sick. That's really cool as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Excellent, lads. I mean, one last thing before we close this out. For anyone reading this or is going to be listening to it, I mean, I have absolutely no idea who you lot are. I need you to quickly just sum up the album and what they should expect going into this from this new and upcoming band.
Okay, so, well, if you're listening, everyone, you probably know we're called Bearpark, as we've mentioned. But this album, which is a self-titled album, it's a roller coaster. It's got loads of stuff on it. It's got your classic indie bangers, your dancers. It's got quieter songs, which are more mellow. You can close your eyes and go to sleep to them. Wedding songs, songs that make you sing. It's just baby shower. Songs for everything. These are songs for absolutely everything. You could do anything. You could drive to them. You could hoover to them. You could just go about your day. It's just everyday, easy listening.
I would say there's a song for every emotion on that album.
A song for every emotion.
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. It's been a Hive magazine interview with Bearpark.